Killjoy mains, and frankly, most people who play Sentinels, could be significantly more impactful if they knew some of the rules followed by top Sentinel players. We want to give you the best ways to remember and elevate your understanding of these rules, so you can immediately change your gameplay. Nats is one of those Killjoy players who you can learn from in every round you watch him play. And in this video, we're going to break down the difference between your gameplay and his. Now, we also want to have some fun with it, so we're going to look through a round played by one of our very own SkillCapped subscribers as Killjoy on Ascent, and compare it to a round played by Nats to find out what the differences really are between an above average player and Nats when it comes to playing Killjoy. Now, there is a big difference between even the average Radiant player and Nats, but there is a chance we can close that gap on why he does some of what he does and why you're not seeing the results you want as often as you would ideally like to. The first round we're going to break down today comes from our subscriber. His team's pushing into Site B on round 2, after having won round 1. Though, even with the economic advantage, his team loses the round. There are a few things here to both praise and criticize in this round from everyone involved, but let's focus on what our Killjoy could have done here, since that's all they can control. So, we start with a pretty standard turret placed in the pre-round that was placed a bit too deep. This is just a side note, and many of you already know this intuitively if you're learning Killjoy, but you want to place the turret on the front right corner of Ticket to force enemies that have to peek out a little bit more to break the turret if his team were to leave B main at some point in the round. Understanding why small things like this are useful will help you to improve in the long run. After this, the team pushes through B main fast, using utility right away and then scaling into site quickly. Now, at first, it seems like our Killjoy's in a good position to best take advantage of their utility and help their team to hold the front of B site. A recon bolt is shot into sight, and they shoot it to support their team. But Killjoy has the spike. Holding the spike as Killjoy isn't bad on its own, but if you're going to be playing inside of B main, not so much. After shooting the dart, our Reyna dies to the enemy Reyna playing from stairs. Then, our Sova trades the Reyna. The Reyna and Sova pushed out in a super awkward way given the situation, and so our Omen tries to make the best of this situation and tries scaling up through the lane himself. Our Killjoy starts to scale up with the Omen, and they're both met with 2 enemy Killjoy mollies placed to delay a push through lane, causing them to take a ton of damage. Ideally, this would have been activated earlier in the push when the team had the most control over the site, before enemies had a chance to rotate and start stacking utility to retake site. But our Reyna just sprinted up towards market stairs. From here, the Killjoy on site manages to get a pick on the Omen pushing up through lane, just before getting traded from our Jet pushing into site from stairs. I know, it's a lot. During that interaction, our turret on flank is destroyed. So where does this leave us in the round? Well, 2 of our players are low HP, we have no awareness of what's going on in B main, 2 mollies, and an alarm bot. Since our Killjoy has control over the enemy's primary objective this round, they may be able to play passive. And in this situation, it would be incredibly beneficial if our abilities helped us with this. As a Killjoy, you want to eliminate risk by allowing you and your team to play contact off of utility. So really, this is perfect for us. We're able to fill exactly what's needed this round. We see the makings of this, with 2 mollies thrown toward lane and stairs. Though, the molly thrown toward lane could have been used in a more impactful way, as it was thrown and then activated a little bit too early since his team didn't take the opportunity to move back created by the jet smoke already thrown at lane before the molly was activated. After the duration of the molly's complete, our Killjoy takes a moment to hold for the lane push, again, with 1 HP. Even a top pro with the best aim on earth understands you don't want to take risks like that if you don't have to, especially since you have control over the fact that the enemy team has to push into site if they want to defuse the spike. We have an alarm bot and a molly for stairs, so enemies have to get through that to get into site. And if enemy players want to get into site from lane, our 1 HP Jet will contact them first. And then the enemy team will have to make a dropping sound once they drop from lane. So we have many indicators that allow us to play more passive here, while still maximizing our impact and buying enough time for the spike to blow up. From here, our Killjoy peeks out back and forth between lane and stairs, continuing to take big risks. And eventually, we see what happens when you gamble. They peek stairs and unfortunately aren't able to pick one up. Now, this could have been avoided if they just waited for the alarm bot to go off, activated their molly on stairs to hopefully buy some more time for their team, and gave their team a more advantageous fight in doing so. Now, the lesson here, solidified in this round by this interaction, is the importance of playing contact off utility as Killjoy. This can also be applied to Cypher, and in a similar but kind of different way to Chamber as well, but we'll save that for another video. Abilities in Valorant should be used to lower risk and gain the maximum advantage toward achieving your team's objective at that stage in the round. And playing contact off your utility as a Killjoy is one of the fundamental ways you can lower risk and give your team an advantage. Going back to the turret placed in the pre-round, and thinking about how we could have gotten the most value out of our utility with this in mind, we now have to think about how our Killjoy has the spike. We're going to be playing inside of the site, and not inside B main since we're going to be planning the spike. And we also haven't communicated to any of our teammates that we want someone playing inside of B main. Communicating that can be tricky to coordinate properly in ranked, especially this early in the match, before we've had the chance to assess our team's strengths and weaknesses as well, especially since the enemy team might take more risks due to it being an eco round for them. The turret told us someone was on the flank, and potentially deterred them from flanking after being spotted. But if you're playing on site and won't be fighting inside of main, why give the enemy that choice and create more uncertainty of where enemy players could be? You give your team a little more control by placing an alarm bot a little bit past B main spawn barrier on the attacking side, instead of the turret, since you know you'll be playing inside of the site for this round. From here, you can use your turret either on site to tell when to activate each molly, or near the defender B main spawn barrier to tell your teammates when and where enemy players are peeking into sight. This way, someone can't just peek from catwalk to look for the turret and break it to limit your team's info. They have to push up far enough to get spotted by the alarm bot, giving you more accurate information that, with the spike timer in mind, makes it impossible to wrap back around to avoid it if the alarm bot's activated late enough after the spike has been planted. The alarm bot and the turret here allow you to spot the enemy players peeking into sight and have accurate information on areas of the map that no longer have to have a player to keep an eye on them. Our team could have controlled front sight to avoid enemy players peeking for picks during an enemy eco round, and the alarm bot placed this way would have been crucial to your teammates being able to play front sight if the early push into sight hadn't fallen apart the way it did this round. If our Killjoy didn't have the spike and wanted to play inside of B main, the turret placed in the way it was originally placed would have been more impactful, because it would have given them more time to react to the flank than the alarm bot could have provided. All in all, the key takeaways for this round are 1. Eliminate risk by allowing your turret or alarm bot to make contact for you in scenarios where you're able to create an advantage that lowers risk for you and your team to achieve your team's objective for the stage of the round you're in. And 2. Look to get the max value out of your abilities placed for the flank and your positioning by considering the following. You and your team's positioning this round based on what they're doing in the moment and what they've done in the rounds prior, and how the enemy team may play based on their economy and past rounds. This stuff is a bit more nuanced, but this is exactly why we do VOD reviews for all SkillCapped subscribers in our Discord. Once you've watched the courses on our site and get your mechanics up to snuff, it can be great to get your gameplay looked at so you can see all the little things you're doing wrong that are holding you back. If you're feeling stuck, we might just be what you need to get climbing. We also back our entire site by a rank improvement guarantee, so it's literally no risk. You can get climbing in no time, and if by chance you don't gain a rank, you'll get your money back. No questions asked. And we do this because we want to see you improve. In fact, in this Killjoy's case, they've gone up 3 whole ranks since this coaching session. If you want to see instant improvement, be sure to check out SkillCapped, and we'll see you there. Now, let's take a look at a round where Nats takes B site with his team. This round, Nats has his ultimate ability, and his team's on a suboptimal buy against a full buy on the other team. His team tries to make up for this disadvantage by popping both Nat's Killjoy ult and KO's ult, which is also available this round. Before pushing in though, Nats places a standard flank turret on top of the front right corner of Ticket. The ultimate strategy works, and they're able to take control of B. Now he throws mollies towards Market and CT to stop enemy players from being able to peek out of the standard CT and Market smokes. As his team's pushing out onto site, the flank turret's broken, and Nats is forced to place an alarm bot deep enough to deny enemy players from peeking far enough into B main to shoot him in the back. Nats has used most of his utility to actually get into sight, but has positioned himself in a strong position to play off his alarm bot, and is able to contest enemy players if they run through the front of B site to try and retake inner B site. His KO moves back into B main as well, which could strengthen his team's hold on the front of B side. but they entered B main while still mid KO ult, sending out loud visual waves from their location, and that gave away his position and put a target right on his back. From here, the enemy Reyna gets a pick inside of sight. Nats then narrowly avoids being scanned by the enemy Sova drone, and the KO on his team is picked off. Now, you might think this puts him in a very strong position, and when we look at how the round plays out after this point, it definitely did. But keep in mind, the Sova on the enemy team has the awareness that the corner Nats was playing on, it wasn't cleared. While many players may assume after the KO gets picked off that B main is clear, they're only really being caught off guard, because the enemy Sova can easily call out that close B main still isn't 100% clear. Luckily though, the enemy KO pushes out of defender spawn to peek in front of stairs into sight without looking toward B main and is caught off guard by Nats. The enemy Sova tragically makes a critical mistake of jumping to get a deeper angle into B main and is caught by Nats right after. Now that leaves him and the Sova on his team in a 2v1 against the enemy Jet. Nats pushes onto side, plays off of his Sova's recon bolt, and they close out the round. So, what are the key differences here between Nats and the subscriber that we watched? Well, for one, every single piece of utility used by Nats served a purpose. He was able to get value out of all the utility he used and didn't even see an enemy until close to the end of the round. Despite this, he had the most impact kill-wise out of all of his teammates this round. Even if he didn't pick up a single kill and his teammate didn't lose a single player, he still showed up where it counted as Killjoy in the round at every single stage of the round. There were definitely some awkward moments and misplays from his teammates throughout the round, and his team was somewhat lucky he wasn't spotted by the Sova drone after they died on sight, but when it comes to how Nats utilized his abilities as Killjoy this round, he played this ranked game incredibly well. His positioning inside of B main, and how he used his utility in response to not only what his team was doing, but also what his enemies did, were the reasons he was able to have the impact that he did. So, let's build off the takeaways from the previous round. 1. Based on the likely position you'll be playing, try to get the max value out of every single piece of utility. In this case, Nats helped his team into sight using his mollies, which you may only need one of depending on what the situation calls for. Spotted an enemy player who might have been waiting to flank early, and then continued to passively hold flank with his alarm bot. The position he played in B main even allowed him to play off his alarm bot well. 2. Playing around your flank utility and getting rid of you are both highly valuable things on the enemy team. So position yourself in a way that gives your team the most control as possible. Support your team as much as possible, while being careful not to die too early and give up the value that your abilities have. And no, this doesn't mean to play so passive that you're not self-sufficient in uncoordinated ranked games, but you do need to understand the value your abilities provide, and consider what the priority for your team is depending on the objective your team has at each stage of the round. Now, we've only covered the attacking half. Understanding how to play contact to offer your utility to eliminate risk can be equally applied to the defending half. You eliminate a lot of risk by knowing when enemy players are peeking into or running through a certain area of the map, and whether it's the flank on the attacking half or a key choke point on the defending half. You and your team can use that information to decide when to swing or use other abilities to respond to what enemy players are doing. On defense, you want to make sure there's a cost to peeking into running through key areas of the map, just like there is for flank during the attack half. This cost can be an enemy player giving up their position, having to use some utility to break your abilities, or taking damage when running through a molly. Just remember that you want to create advantages that lower risk, and that your goal is to make it easier for your team to achieve whatever the objective is at that stage of the round by making it harder for the enemy team at key points in the round. And this is true whether it's holding sight, defusing the spike, or making a fight more advantageous for you and your teammates. With all that being said, start going into each round with the takeaways we've gone over today, and look back on rounds that you think you could improve on, whether you win them or lose them, to understand why what you're doing is or isn't working. If you do this, you should be able to set your impact as a Killjoy in the round apart from the majority of other Killjoy players at your rank, and see the progress in rank that you've been looking for. And remember, if you're really looking to climb in Valorant, the best place to do that is SkillCapped. We recommend checking out our Become an Aim God course to get your mechanics up to an immortal level in no time, and then as soon as you're finished, schedule a VOD review in the Discord with us and get your gameplay checked out. We'll give you all the pointers you need to get climbing in no time and on your way to the rank you've always dreamed of. And remember, it is absolutely no risk due to our rank up insurance, so you're literally just guaranteeing your own improvement. Check out SkillCapped today to start climbing. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.